So it's been a while since Microsoft initially released the Windows 11 Insider previews that anyone can install on their computer to get a either developer or beta version of Windows 11. And actually they've been making changes and adding stuff since then, a month or two ago. So I figured what we'll talk about in this video are what those changes are. There's some new visual changes on some programs, as well as some outright new features, and we can go over all of those. Now, one big thing that Microsoft just released most recently, it's not really a feature, but I think it still counts, is they now have the ISOs files you can download for Windows 11 to install, as in like a clean install. Before, this was not possible. You had to set up the Windows Insider program, sign up for it on a computer, and then it would upgrade your Windows 10 to Windows 11. But now, with these ISOs, you can actually do a clean install of either the developer or beta version of Windows 11 directly onto a computer. This is kind of a big deal. Now, later on in the video, I will do a walkthrough and show you the actual installation process. It's called the out-of-box experience. I'll go through it relatively quickly. I'm not going to drag it out or anything, but I do want to point out that you do need to be still part of the Windows 11 Insider program to get these ISO files. Again, it's free, you just enable it on your computer, but if you try to go to the ISO download page, it's going to tell you to log in. Now, you probably can get the ISO from elsewhere. People have probably uploaded it. I'm just talking about the official page. All right, so now let's get into some actual updates. First, we'll go over the one from the previous one, which is about last week at the time of recording, and then also the most recent one from like just a day ago, and we can go over basically all the main changes those have been since they released the initial preview. First up, there is a new snipping tool. So you probably know in Vista and even Windows 7, there was the snipping tool for taking screenshots in Windows. Then they replaced that and updated it with the snip and sketch tool. Well, now they're replacing both of them with a new snipping tool. And it pretty much is exactly the same as the snip and sketch tool, just renamed and visually updated. So the big change is first that it is visually updated to more be like the Windows 11 design theme, but they also added some other basic stuff like a new settings page. But for overall, it kind of behaves exactly how you would expect the current snip and sketch tool. You can still do stuff like annotating the images after you take a screenshot, that sort of thing. So really useful. The other apps that were updated in that update were the calculator, mail, and calendar apps. So the mail and calendar apps pretty much just got a visual upgrade to, again, be like the Windows 11 design theme. Not really any new features, apparently, that they mentioned at least. So anything that is just going to be extremely minor. And as for the calculator, this one's actually a little bit more interesting because yes, they of course updated the visuals to be consistent with Windows 11, but apparently they also rewrote the program in C# programming language and also open sourced it on GitHub. I believe it has been open source for a while, but apparently they rewrote it in C# and actually opened it up to be possibly contributed by anyone who wants to on GitHub. So if you are a programmer and you know how to write in C#, which I believe is what a lot of .NET Microsoft stuff is based off of, then you can go on. If you want to add a feature, you can make a pull request. They'll maybe review it. If it's good enough, it'll be actually added into the official calculator app. Who knows? So that's kind of cool. So those were the changes in the previous build. Now we can get on to the ones in the most recent build, which was released on August 19th. There was one kind of minor, really update, and then there was one significant major feature update that they added, which I'm kind of excited about. So the minor one is a new widget. It's like for families. I guess if you have family accounts tied to your Microsoft account, you can just kind of keep track of stuff. It's just on the widgets panel. Nothing too exciting there, but I'm glad that they're adding more widgets. And again, I'm not 100% sure if they'll allow third-party widgets to be added, but it's good that they're adding more. That's good hope for it. Now, before I get to the other bigger feature, I do have to make sure the bills get paid. So I do want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. You've heard me talk about it before, but they actually have a brand new, better deal out, in my opinion. So just stick around for a second. Like the name suggests, Private Internet Access is a VPN service that can protect your internet connection from prying eyes, even from your own internet service provider. Like I've said before, I've personally been subscribed to them since 2014, long before they ever sponsored a video. Here's my billing history. And yes, of course, I renewed it again this year. To use it, it's really easy. You simply choose any of the servers across many different countries around the world, and then it will look like your IP address comes from that location. And the same goes for the mobile apps. You simply toggle it on and you're good. It's available on all the big desktop and mobile platforms, as well as browser extensions on Chrome, Firefox, and Opera. There's plenty of additional features, for example, a VPN kill switch, which will prevent your real internet connection from accidentally being revealed, as well as what they call PIA Mace, which can block trackers, malware, and more. Plus a bunch of advanced filters like choosing specific protocols, DNS traffic, and more. And yes, they do support peer-to-peer connections like for BitTorrent, and of course they do not keep logs. And as a special deal, if you go to privateinternetaccess.com/TJ, you can get 83% off the 3-year plan. Ends up being like $2.08 a month. And of course, the link will also be in the description if you want to check it out. And with that being said, let's continue. So the latest big new feature in the latest build of Windows 11 that they were talking about on the blog pretty extensively is for the clock app. You're like, what? How is that possibly exciting? But hold on, it actually is, because it's more than just the clock. So of course there's the clock in the bottom right. I'm not talking about that, but the actual clock app that you open it up and it can do other stuff like timer, whatever. Of course that has new visuals in this Windows 11 update, but also they added something called Focus Sessions feature. So the idea is you set this focus timer for whatever amount of time you want, and then it will help you remove distractions and also kind of put you in a work mode. For example, it can connect to your Spotify account and start playing a dedicated playlist that you know helps you work better or something like that. It'll connect to that, as well as integrates with Microsoft To Do, which is Microsoft's to-do list. It has some other features besides that, but basically it allows you to just keep track of stuff you have to do, check it off. But what's also cool is with this focus session thing, you can also make stuff like daily goals, and then it will show you how far along you are for that goal, how much percentage you've accomplished, sort of as a way to like gamify it. So you can kind of play against yourself and try to get stuff done. And maybe this focus session mode will keep you reminded, like you see that timer going, you stay on task because you keep being reminded we're in focus mode, that sort of thing. So I think it's pretty cool, and maybe they'll be adding additional features in the future to further reduce distractions and stuff. All right, so now let's see what this new Windows 11 out-of-box experience looks like. So I'll head right over to the computer and we can take a look. All right, so I created a virtual machine in Hyper-V and added a virtual disk drive with the ISO file in it, and we can take a look what happens. So currently the setup looks pretty similar to the previous one in Windows 10. If you can just hit next, install now, click I don't have a product key, and by the way, I'm skipping through all the dead time here. We can choose, let's go with Pro, why not? And we're gonna do a custom install. So I'll just fast forward until it's done here, but so far it looks pretty much exactly the same as previous installations, but I think when it's actually installed and then the first boot up, that's where things are gonna look different. All right, so it finally installed. It took a little bit longer than expected, but we can get right into it. It looks like it's probably gonna be pretty similar to the leaked build, but we'll still go through it. So choose United States, yes. Keyboard, yes. No second keyboard. Cool little animations, I must say, for the Wi-Fi one. I don't have an internet connection set up, so I don't have to worry about it trying to update or anything. Yeah, just use limited setup. Password is very secure. All right, do we have to really go through the privacy settings? So we can actually look through these. These are probably decent to know about. You get location stuff, find my device, diagnostic data, inking and typing. These pretty much look like the same exact privacy settings in Windows 10. So definitely something you'll want to look through and choose. Since I'm not even going to be using this computer, I'm not going to bother disabling it or anything. And that seems to be it. That was it. It was really quick, although it did say limited. So if it was connected to the internet, there might have been a little bit more. Then it goes through and finishes up. And now we're in it. So that pretty much covers the installation. So yeah, just cool that Microsoft is still adding features to Windows 11. You know, there's nothing too groundbreaking that I've seen. Nothing is like a must-have that will force me to update from Windows 10, but you know, some nice stuff still. But of course, if they do release anything groundbreaking, you can be sure I'll talk about it and tell you guys. But let me know what you guys think. Are you kind of excited about this clock update? Maybe you didn't even know there was a clock app. We can talk about that down in the comments along with anything else. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a very light touch on the like button. Also, if you guys want to subscribe, it should be worth it. Also, be sure to enable the bell because I usually upload only like twice a week, so you don't want those to get lost in your other subscriptions. Now, if you guys want to keep watching, the next video I'd recommend is where I was talking about Windows 10X, the canceled version of Windows that Windows 11 was basically built off of. So you can click that right there if you've never heard of it. It's pretty interesting. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in that next video.